is going to be a very intense one, and we might see a little more of a unique banning situation as both teams are not afraid to run some more unique comps. And as I say that, of course, well, you know, this might be unique for today. Double Emma off the rip.
Double Emma off the rip indeed is very unique. And well, I mean earlier in the tournament we definitely saw a lot, but yeah, but today for sure. But a little bit of, you know, side topic, a little bit of old lore for Sentinels. Apparently Hogs told me, I mean, Super Gomez obviously on the bench today. Shout out Super Gomez, probably co-streaming the event. I think Hogs told me that Super Gomez, when they were playing for the first time trying to make a team, they were like, hey, Super Gomez literally told Hogs, like, hey, I'm playing duelist in this game, by the way. And then they just like made a team around it. So pretty funny how, you know, a former Vanguard player just decides, okay, I'm gonna play duelist in Marvel Rivals. And he, you know, was very strong for like the first year of this game. And, you know, is still pretty strong, like you said, on the bench for the team right now, instead of Nectar.
Yeah, and you know, I mentioned it, I touched on it. There's just so much talent, and in just the humbleness, saying things like, hey, you know, he may play a better Wolverine than me. I'd rather kind of learn and practice and try to get some of these heroes that we may need added to our roster in case we need me to pull it out. As the bans are getting a little more unique, we're going to see Punisher taken off here. Punisher has been very frequently selected across the board, as that Final Judgment ultimate with a pocket is devastating, and the Mantis is gone. Surprisingly, on the side, actually, Sentinel's going to ban that out for Nemesis. As we know, damage comps have been threatening. These damage boosts from Mantis, this cloak that has been locked in for the side of Nemesis, it makes things like Mello over there on the Torch terrifying to go against.
Yeah, yep, the Torch band as well. I mean, this is what I was talking to you about this. I think the evolution of the meta is, there we go, the Mantis gets locked in. You know, you get a flex, right? You either could play the Adam Warlock, like it's getting banned now, but now the Ultron's on the table alongside Human Torch. So we saw on EMEA how strong Dive with Mantis, with the Human Torch is in Rad Esports, because, you know, you damage boost up that Ultron, you damage boost up the Human Torch, and you can one shot, you can do 165 body shots on Ultron. So there's a lot of value to be had in Mantis. I know that the character itself isn't necessarily a hard carry, but you could play it very well alongside this Human Torch, alongside an Ultron. We'll see if they do it. I mean, I haven't seen too many teams run that sort of Captain America dive composition outside of Europe, so we'll see if Sentinels wants to do it over here against Team Nemesis today on Hell's Heaven, which that's the map that they lost, right? That's the map that Nemesis lost, right, Chip?
I believe so. I believe so. I'd have to go back and check. But one of the things I thought, one of the things I thought was super interesting on the side of Sentinels was the discussion that we recently heard on the Cozy Cast with AMER, who suggested that she wasn't as comfortable with giving comms out and liked to play more of that Strat 2 role, which plays a little more technical heroes and instead is more focused on their own job rather than calling out for the team, but allowing the switch over here to allow Kurova to play those more technical heroes while she keeps her eyes forward and focuses on making the team play together with some strong comms. And that conversation about letting strats decide how that works out was very interesting to me, and I think it's helped Sentinels perform very much, we talked about, like we said, as a team rather than individual talent, because they are all hard locked in to how these comms are given. And up here, Mello on the Wolverine looking for the tackle, as Crimzo going to be playing Captain America.
That's some very unique insight, Shib, as you know, hopefully we get more players to share such insight on the Cozy Cast. Sentinels, a team that has a lot of things known about them. We'll see all these other rosters, you know, what's to come, but Dink's already on Techie after that pull came in from Mello, like you said, Shib. That angle from the Wolverine was beautiful.
Yeah, and the fight is going to be pretty much stalled at this point, heavily in the side of Nemesis, with this pressure driving the team back as Sentinels regroups here. Nobody getting KO just yet. Craze, we talked about the throw here on Wolverine, the fastball special. This is a scary team up that maybe slept on a little bit, because giving Wolverine the chance to play boomerang, throw him past, and allow him to tackle back is a pretty much an ultimate for Wolverine, who plays so much off of that tackle. And here goes the throw directly on to the front line. Ricky goes down for Crimzo, though, during that fight. Crimzo going to find an off-angle pick, and that is a huge pick just to turn the momentum around as Kurova takes out a Median after that.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to deal with, but they come back through. They do pop that Eternal Bond, but we'll see what Sentinels are up to do. Kurova, ultimate available, dives on in there, keeping Amazing alive. Nemesis now at a disadvantage.
And we do see the Eternal Bond out for now. Amazing holding that height. A very, very mean Human Torch who already is holding on to that ultimate can be ready as the team has the dance floors lit up. And the tackle of the last stand, not able to get anyone fully through it as Sentinels are still holding on to Amazing and Crimzo with the Q. It's going to be matched as Crazemang does pop Hulk. Scatter goes up in the sky. Will the dunk happen? Not able to find value with it. But nice freeze there from Aramori to hold and stall that as Techie finds one, Nectar finds two, and Sentinels are going to try to retake this point, but 72% on the side of Nemesis. Great first hold.
Yeah, good first hold indeed, and that's kind of what happens on domination, right? The tickage kind of just goes up so fast compared to every other game mode. Domination, you know, I would argue maybe we'll see what happens in terms of rule set. Maybe it needs to last a little bit longer, but regardless, Team Nemesis 77% on the board. Like you said, all they need is that one fight and the deal with Doctor Strange portals coming back. They do have ultimates coming through. They do have the Horn of Proteus ready to go, and on the opposite side, Sentinels does have Techie and the Meteor M. You know, for Nemesis, we'll see how they set this up. They are against the dive composition, so maybe he'll use it to peel. And on the opposite side, Techie probably going to enable his divers, save people with that Meteor M against Team Nemesis on their engage.
Yeah, Madian and Dinks both ready to press Q. Crimzo on and off angle. Nectar finds Ricky and Dinks down early. Great pick there. Keeping pressure on. They've got to try to make up this difference. Nemesis just has to win one Q advantage fight. Once they get these ults, they just have to take one down and force them into a teleport play situation. But great neutral, not burning a ton there for Sentinels. And Nectar finding a few picks while still holding on to that dance of the butterfly. Amazing on this height, ready to set up. It is threatening when you see this on the ground. The fire begins. Tick damage for days and getting that ultimate back relatively quickly. That supernova is not insanely threatening in and of itself, but it does buy a ton of space.
And they go aggressive with the dance of the butterflies. Oh no, Madian goes down. It's traded at least by one. Korova will fall, but Mello going down as well with that last stand is awful. That was one of the huge ults for this fight. Sentinels understanding the win condition, which is to go aggressive with some plays, might pan out as they still have point control.
Yeah, that was a good fight there again by Sentinels. Aramori holding on to that dance floor. Amazing ready for the supernova as well. And there we go, as we do see it pop from Ricky on the side of Nemesis, who just want to get some pressure back. Mello going to take out Amazing out of the sky with Wolf. Crazemang onto Aramori. Amadian on to Techie. And down goes Nectar as well. And Amadian showing off the power of, well, we haven't seen a ton here of Namor, but he has been getting a ton of value today. So exciting to see him still on the docket here in that whale. Still getting a little bit of value, although it is not nearly as impactful as when Strangling Prison and Whale combination was the it play.
This is definitely a back and forth series. You know, this is the top teams playing. Now here comes an aggressive play with the Captain America. They run on in, force a Madian shift, and the Whale. Nectar able to take out Wiki though.
Yeah, and that's a nice pick there onto Dinks as well. Crimzo just applying a ton of pressure, obviously using that freedom charge to just have infinite HP and just be so difficult to escape from. The ult pop there from Crazemang just to kind of stall the point as it is at 99. This could be enough to allow them to TP in. And great dash through to retake HP off point if you are on point. Ooh, Crazemang has to fall off there and reset, trying to get the reset to portal back in before that goes away. Nectar going to take out Ricky. Korova on a scatter and Techie on a Dinks. And wow, Sentinels holding on tight and getting the W.
Unfortunately, Team Nemesis committing every single ultimate in the previous fight now, or at least Stratus ultimates in that fight resulted in this next upcoming one. Just resulting in a crazy disadvantage, right? Sentinels just runs on in there with the Captain American charge, and then, you know, after that, just kind of run down these Stratus players trying to hide, and you can't really hide from Captain America or a Psylocke, you know? It's sort of like, it really turns into a horror movie dealing with Captain America and Psylocke if you're a Stratus player, and we all know how hard it is to play against Cap dives in the previous patch when he had the extra 50 HP, and he still is that character that, you know, that could do that sort of stuff. That just shows the show how strong he was in previous patches. And right now, Sentinels, you know, playing pretty, you know, strong, right? They're playing together as a unit. I think that even though they went up to 77% Nemesis, that is, on the first fight, they were able to kind of come back into it, set up aggressive dives, set up plays, play proactive. And I think that sort of favors these dive compositions. We'll see how Team Nemesis does on this upcoming map. Maybe these squids get a little bit more value out of a Madian on the Namor, but right now, dive is looking disgusting on Sentinel's side and alive as ever.
Yeah, Sentinels just showing their presence, their experience in these situations, even small things like Jet Bubble there out the spawn door to give them a little bit of a lead onto point so they can set up prior. You're right. Ooh, good tackle, but that is a flying hero who can come right back off the map. But a good idea there from Mello, trying to find an early pick. But we talk about that 77% there. Oh, nice throw again by Techie, who seemingly just doesn't miss with these Meteor M's. Nectar onto Scatter, and once again, Sentinels going to start off and at this point are going to hold the point off the rip instead of Nemesis. But cycling back to what we were saying, Nemesis 77% of that first fight and still going to Sentinel shows how calm and collected they can be as a team who retook that point and never lost it.
Yeah, unless something crazy happens, I feel like Sentinels on this dive just looks so good. Look how it's just Crimzo and Nectar sort of tag team duoing together. You know, we've seen this with Human Torch and Ultron. Now we're going to see it with Captain America and Psylocke yet again. Constantly diving on these backlines, forcing out ultimates as Nemesis have them. Meanwhile, for Nemesis, it seems like they're all in on throwing this Wolverine, trying to play anti-air, but they have to constantly deal with Nectar and Crimzo on their backline.
Yeah, just the fact that it forces eyes in another direction is enough value. There's a tackle there by Mello. Not able to get the last stand value off anything just yet. We do see the Eternal Bond go out for Kuroba, holding on, installing the point. And at this point, team just going to regroup, get healthy, and start the fight again. It's matched on both sides. Scatter going to find Aramori, though. Nice pick there to not allow that to continue. And it is what a Supernova out to just hold this space. This is where we're talking about the pure value of these fire tornadoes, making teams think about where they need to go. And honestly, just the clutter and the visual lockdown that it provides is value as well. Great ult here. Again, Crimzo finding dinks in the back. Nectar onto Scatter.
I mean, I think this is a meta-defining match right now. I mean, unfortunately for Team Nemesis, they pretty much played that perfectly. Now they're delaying with the Hulk. I mean, the Hulk's going to get deleted a little bit. Maybe a whale comes in, but here's Aramori with the Fate of the Worlds and Nectar on the backside. I mean, look how much value he's getting. He's distracting everybody with this Luna Snowflake and finding elimination. Sure, Craftsman took down Amazing, but right now, even with finding Aramori, that was like the perfect fight for Team Nemesis. They still couldn't win, and to me, that screams composition diff right now for Sentinels, as they have 93% on the board, looking to close it out as Craftsman comes in with the portal. Maybe they could find something with a last stand from Mello last second, or median with this Horn of Probius.
Yeah, and that's a great TP play. If you have roughly 10%, you can get it there for the most part on domination. Up goes Scatter, and there's the whale combination. Does get two. Yeah, Median and Scatter, good combo there. Make that three. Amazing finds Ricky in the back, though. There's that dive. Finding value in the back of Median onto Amazing, trading again. And it looks like Nemesis should get some percentage here.
Percentage built up. Scatter, no heals though. There's no heals because the healers are going down to Nectar. Nectar found a Median. Nectar is still doing so much work. Does go down to Scatter eventually. But to me, Shiv, this feels like, you know, Marvel Rivals, any hero shooter. These games turn into a matter of, you know, if you have to play perfect with the composition, it always is very hard to win with said compositions, right? Because for Sentinels, it feels like they can make mistakes and bring themselves back into it. We'll see if they can do it again though, as Amazing gets grabbed out of the sky.
Yeah, great focus there on the bubble. Has to turn the last stand away, and that's it value. Talking about massive bubble value, forcing last stand away from the tackle. Well done by Techie. Amazing getting one. Crimzo onto Crazemang, and once again,
They layered.
Just popping off. They did layer.
Oh no. I mean, if Sentinels disengages, come back in with the Supernova and Aramori, I mean, this is going to be brutal for Nemesis.
Yeah, you can't have that happen, as that is map defining in terms of just a huge net value loss. Amazing onto Ricky there, tries to find another tackle play. This all is getting a ton of value. Bubble out again into the sky. Amazing make that three. Can I see four onto the Wolf, who has to touch now. Very close. Passive is popped. Wolverine, and that's virtually four as Cap is holding. Crazemang just trying to hold on as much as possible, but it looks like it is going to Sentinels.
What a map from Sentinels there, Shib, and, you know, moving forward, I feel like this is where we're going to see a lot more Human Torch prioritization. I know you talked about it, right? You talked about how important it is to get rid of that hero, and I think you were 100% on the money. Right now, this character can do so much alongside this Captain America dive with a Psylocke MVP, well-deserved for Amazing, who, you know, is a top flyer player in the game in general. It feels like he just plays flyers to such a high level, and for Sentinels, I'm sure they're happy to have a player like him on this team, constantly doing damage on this character. And unfortunately, like I said, I feel like that was a bit of a comp diff. And luckily, because these are the top teams and because they have top tier coaches, they adjust, right? It's a best out of 3. It's only for seeding. But regardless, I'm sure we'll see some changes from Team Nemesis in the ban phase because their prioritization of the Punisher removal and stuff didn't really work out. We've seen like kind of the fall off of Punisher when Human Torch is involved. And, you know, you can see why. It just feels like this Human Torch alongside this Psylocke dive with the Captain America is just brutal. And, you know, the way I would describe it is like hero shooters are a lot like top tier MOBAs almost. You know, if we talk about, you know, I'm not going to name specifically MOBAs, but it does feel like this game is all about making less mistakes, right? If you could play easy heroes that kind of synergize well together, aren't really hard to utilize to a high level, and make sure you can kind of group together as a unit. It's all about making the game easier on yourself. And right now, Sentinels with this dive composition with the Captain America and Psylocke setting up these off angles that you really can't clear on a map like Hell's Heaven. It feels like it's the smart play, and it feels like Team Nemesis are just fighting a losing battle off the rip, running this not dive composition.
Yeah, I'm with you on the point about Punisher into Torch. You know, you think hit scan into Flyers and you think that is going to work out for you, but the sheer movement ability out of Torch and the escape ability, he also has an insanely high skill ceiling. So just the raw talent that you can bring to that character and just natural value with a ton of different implementations, from damage over time, from burst damage, from, you know, that shotgun spread off his left click. There's just so much to his kit. His ult even takes a ton of space, and it can work out with combination. We saw a couple picks there where there's a ton to Torch's kit. In my personal opinion, if I'm not running Torch, I'm saying goodbye to Torch, but that's just how I would play.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see what the ban phase is in store for Nemesis. I think we have our ideas on it, Shib and I. We'll see what the players and the coaches choose on Team Nemesis. It is a best out of 3, so they have another map to potentially come back on. We'll see you guys after the short break for game number 2.
Welcome back, everyone. Calm, cool, and collected. Sentinels looking absolutely smooth and taking home W on map 1 against Nemesis.
Yeah, I mean, that was a clean map out of Sentinels. I think we could both agree, Shib. It felt like a little bit of a comp gap, but you know, that's how the game kind of is right now. It's awesome. I think that there's a lot of changes that you need to make in this best out of 3. As we get deeper into the tournament, we'll enter best out of 5 range. You know, maybe for that grand finals, we'll see some different stuff because it allows you more time to adapt. But in the best out of 3 scenario, and especially, you know, map number 1, it's going to be tough to figure out what map you're going to play on. And unfortunately, that was like the worst map for Nemesis.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of compositions and smart play, right? Amazing MVP there, looking really strong. Roughly 24k damage with a ton of KOs. 27 up there right alongside Nectar at 33 casualties and 10 final hits. Honestly, the duelist line right now, no assists, honestly, is hysterical. It goes to show you just securing those KOs nearly every time they can. But yeah, I mean, the duelist line, right? Amazing, and Nectar looked so good. Nectar was 30-2 there with 14 finals. You know, less damage is an indication of just really good burst potential, right? Just got the job done when needed to.
Yeah, the tough part about Psylocke is that I think, or the tough part about dive composition is that Psylocke player does get a ton of the credit, right? Nectar, amazing player. Right, amazing. He put in so much work in the sky and enabled him to kind of pop off. Same thing with Crimzo. So obviously the Psylocke player gets a lot of the credit. Same thing with the Human Torch player, but it's the setup between Crimzo, the Vanguard players, anchoring, you know, we talked about earlier from Dongman playing the Doctor Strange, you know, on the opposite side for Techie to sort of play that anchor and allow Crimzo to go for that dive was a big deal. But game number 1 was Hell's Heaven. Nemesis, that's inarguably, I think, their worst map now. They've lost it every single time they've played it. Now we're entering Symbiotic Surface. This is the same map they picked versus Shroud X. So for Team Nemesis, this is their better map. Maybe they'll show that it's less of a comp thing and more of a map differential as Team Nemesis moves on to a better map for them.
I think it's super interesting that we're seeing a change in compositional run in terms of quote-unquote meta from just last week. Cap being seen so much more frequently, Psylocke all the time. It just goes to show you that teams are still finding new understandings, new learnings nearly every day in these scrims, in these VOD reviews. They are just picking up new things and forcing it down the enemy's throat here, as we see a lock-in of Cloak and we see Magneto on the side of Nemesis. Similar lock-ins here from Magneto. Curious who they're going to lock in for the final lock right now, but I don't think they're going to change much in terms of their composition for Sentinels.
No, I don't think so either. Luna was played last time as well, right?
Yeah.
So,
yep.
But the difference is like that torch, like you said. So I mean, that's a good change. I think that's a hero that we talk about being a nuisance. They've already got rid of the Loki. They got rid of the Emma. They got rid of the Human Torch and the Mantis. So identical bans actually, except now we have a prioritization of the Luna Snow. But it doesn't matter because nobody was going to ban Luna Snow or Cloak and Dagger. It looks like for both sides.
Yeah, going to see a similar comp here. Obviously, the selections off the rip may change. Right, amazing showing the Panther. I would love to see that, but we do see a bit of a change here for Nemesis, which I think is necessary. You'd like to see a shakeup here. You need to see a shakeup, especially after seeing how strong Sentinels played together there on that collapsing dive comp. As we head into Symbiotic Surface here, this is a fun one to watch. We've only seen this a few times in the tournament so far, but it has not gone the distance from my understanding, or at least not in the last few days.
Yeah, and if you're taking anything away from that number one, it was, I think, less to do with the players and more to do with the compositions played. And maybe going to this one, we'll see, you know, the mirror sort of, or you know, both teams sort of figure out their takes on the meta. Because, like we said, I mean, people probably wondering about Mantis being manned. It's like, okay, Mantis is not that good of a hero for a lot of people. His character enables other heroes, right? It enables the Ultron. It enables the Human Torch. And with the Human Torch removed, you know, you could still probably play something along, you know, the Human Torch, the Atom with the Mantis, but Sentinels, oh, the amazing Black Panther is coming out early. That's awesome.
Yeah, I saw it being hovered. Just I'm surprised to see it actually being executed. The whole team committing on this dive on the right side, grouping together. And this is something we haven't seen since season 1, I feel. As most teams have been electing to fight right down main, they are going to choose to do that and rotate right back as the team try to set up. This is going to mess with the team's placement of those equipment, as the turret is off cooldown. Well played here by Nemesis, who clearly likes this map, as it was a selection here for them. As the losing team, you actually choose map and side. So this is going to be their selection. Amadian and going to lose that turret relatively quickly, and now they're all fighting down main. It's amazing trying to find this off angle.
Yeah, already set up for the dive. Unfortunately, they couldn't push him off, and Ricky gets deleted off the face of the freaking planet.
Teams have been working on the Panther. Maybe Sen's self kind of showed how strong the Panther can be still in this meta. You know, they've seen a lot of tier lists, and everyone keeps saying Panther's not it, maybe not it, but when you get a coordinated team with a person that can spin 180 with high sense, he is a threat. And we see Techie taking out Dinks. Mellow onto Nectar there, traded evenly. Number's going to be evened out, and now Nemesis loses another. Ricky takes out Crimzo, even again on point, but we are 2 ticks in.
I mean, they're finding trades, and this Mag is doing his job, right? Trying to keep the backline alive, and the backline trying to keep the tanks alive, the Vanguards alive, but they just cannot. Techie's there with the follow-up onto Amadian. It's 1 by 1. Do the trades come through for Nemesis? They did before. Doesn't look like that's happening today, and the portal also blocks off this side, and Amazing showing the dominance of Black Panther yet again.
Oh my goodness, amazing. The Panther looking incredibly strong, just a nuisance. And with getting things like Loki off the field, I believe Loki was banned out, it makes it even more difficult to keep the strat line up and healthy there. As you're getting dove, your comms start getting nervous, you start yelling at your front line to turn around, and that shakes up the meta and just in terms of team flow. So really well done here.
Yeah, this is the tough part about this patch, is that, yeah, I mean, Black Panther is pretty much so hard to counter without the flyers, without that Human Torch. You're playing, you know, sort of on the ground. Kraz gonna switch over to the thing to try to counter it right now. Sentinels setting up the dives, goes in with the best.
And Amadian gonna pop that final judgment, looking directly at Luna. Actually, one of those ults that can burst through Luna. Great bubble there, great protection, but still good utilization of those cooldowns to cycle them. Nobody goes down, even though the fire, there wasn't a ton of movement left and right to juke. It just kind of soaked it with cooldowns. Well played again. Sentinels as a unit. Crimzo on height now. Amazing, just back and forth here with the Panther, trying to keep eyes away from his back line. And again, out goes the dance of the butterfly from Nectar, finding one. Ricky goes down, and again, odds are in the favor of Sentinels. Make that 2, 3, and 4 as Sentinels are already got this point 3/4 of the way through.
Yeah, the interesting development in this game, in this patch, has been the dive to come to fruition, and we're seeing the pro players react to these patches sort of live, right? Super last second, Nemesis now coming back through with the portal. They can maybe touch with a clobber in time from Kraz.
Yeah, I do like the thing switch. Very difficult to get that Yancey Street onto a dash by the Panther. Actually, you can kind of predict and throw it on your strat line and hope that he dashes through it. But once again, Amazing just sweeping here, patient, waiting out some of these cooldowns, electing to dive when things are gone. And that's the key. Engagement timing is everything for Panther. Kit is definitely difficult, but not the most difficult kit in the game. It's all about when you dive. Amazing, juking like crazy. Ricky goes down, Crimzo finding one. Again, and Nemesis is just trying to hold on, and Amazing back to full HP, just not getting taken out and being such a menace here. Again with the dance of the butterfly, but this one on the side of Mello takes out the back line of Aramori and Kurova. Amazing and Crimzo again as the trades are so back and forth. Up with the Meteor M, literal 1 HP, a dash might be able to clean that up. Crazeman gonna find Techie there with a punch, which cannot be eaten, and Mello with a sweep. Good retake here by Nemesis.
Sentinel so close to Shredder's ultimates, and unfortunately couldn't build them in time, resulting in Mello's ultimate connecting onto both strategists and removing them. Sentinels now also without Techie's ultimate as he tried to clutch it through. But right now, Nemesis finally holding their ground with the thing. Maybe we're going to see the thing work out for the first time, I think, in this North American side, as Team Nemesis trying to counter the force that is the Sentinels dive alongside Amazing on Black Panther and Nectar on that Psylocke.
Crimzo with the engagement, immediately freedom charge. The team will follow up. Remember, as Cap is moving forward, if you follow in his wake in that trail, you will gain shield. A lot of early Cap players don't understand that you actually need to run through your team, allow that trail to be there. It's not an AoE around them. And Scatter trying to find a pick here. We do see Invisible Boundary right on point. And the entirety of the squads are both holding on. Nectar tried to get a dance, did not work. Crazeman gonna turn that on Nectar. Amazing onto Mello again with the trades. These fights are so back and forth. Teams are both very strong in these fights as we see Amadian take out Aramori. Amazing again onto Dinks and Ricky. And Amazing on this Panther is insane right now.
Yeah, he's able to just roam free. Portal as well coming in late. Scatter using his earlier is a bit tough and gonna go down as well. And right now, Sentinel just sort of surrounding this objective. Nemesis trying to figure something out. Amadian off the Punisher is onto that Star-Lord. We've heard, people talk about how Star-Lord is maybe the switch up as well to deal with this Black Panther dive. But right now, dive looks so damn good. Nectar as well, gonna go back over to the Psylocke off of that Strange for that portal. Last phase, this is not the best point for these dive compositions, so we'll see if Nemesis can stabilize with the thing. But right now, 2-minute hold, actually not too much time on the bank either for Sentinels. Nemesis haven't done the worst job necessarily in the Streets phase, but look who's setting up over the top. It's Amazing and Crimzo.
Yeah, no, we have a Star-Lord out with the lock. Does help against something like Panther in the spin to win on the back line. We are going to see a shift here and see if the momentum changes. Again, we do see, it looks like Nemesis finally getting their footing here, starting to group together. Panther initiating that dive with Cap, and you said it, together is the key. Combination of timing as they both go into the same time. Out goes the Legend. Does it find anything? There's some value as Nectar goes down, and Amadian gets one. Bubble goes out. The combination made in heaven. Scatter and Amadian with that spin to win. Amazing out to Ricky and Dinks with a follow from Techie or Aramori onto Amadian, and oh my goodness, it looks like Sentinels are going to sweep them all, and they do.
See, this is the tough part. I feel like Nemesis is actually playing this pretty good. Like, they had 2 people marking the flanks, making sure Amazing wasn't comfortable, had to go back to his team. They had Kraz and Mello looking for Rai and Crimzo, so you got to match, 2-2 on those flank side. Nemesis, though, coming back. They do have ultimates. They saved them for this upcoming fight, so they maybe can win it up here.
Yeah, the retake, alt advantage heavily on the side of Nemesis. We said it wasn't going to go the distance, and Caster Curse is very real. Haven't seen it in a while, and here we go, as we are going to see a fresh engagement. Nectar off the rip here. We're going to force out the dance floor. Team is stacking up. Good play. You force yourself away there, as you actually can look in the center of the dance of the butterfly. You'll see a little ring, and there will always be Psylocke planting there after the ultimate. The Meteor M out. Amadian going to take out AMER before it even finds value. Nectar onto Ricky there. Techie onto Dinks. And again, the strat line is in trouble for Nemesis, as they're just trying to hold on with Mello's ult here. Nectar onto Scatter, and that could be enough, as the numbers are heavily in Sentinel's favor right now.
Yeah, they are, but here comes the Galactic Legend, met by the Meteor M. Does not connect either, so he's able to get another elimination on a Kurova as well. But here comes the Invisible Boundary to let Sentinels hold on to this point and get rid of Crimzo. 5 seconds left too, and they don't have a portal. They're gonna have to come back in with a very late ultimate from Aramori. Strategist ultimate, not gonna keep really anybody else here for the side of Sentinels. They only have 3 people on this payload. Kurova does switch to the Doctor Strange, but you're gonna have to stall in overtime for him to come back.
Great pacing by Ricky with that ultimate there. It did allow the team to retake. This was a really good retake there, as the numbers were heavily against them, and that should be enough to hold on before point 3.
And Nemesis, they chewed enough time off the bank, and maybe we'll see this anti-dive composition come to fruition. You know, Clintar, I think, is a hard map to fully cap out, but not a bad job there from Nemesis towards the very end, keeping the strategist alive, at least one of them alive. I mean, that's really all you could do versus a good Black Panther player. And on the opposite side, Mello finding eliminations onto either Kurova or Aramori right before they have those crucial ultimates they've gotten picked. So for Sentinels, I mean, it's hard because the strategist line, it's not like their whole goal is to really pop off. Your whole job is to kind of stay alive and sort of keep your flankers alive when you can. It's a hard job to ask out of your strategists in this patch, but Sentinels usually a good job at doing it. Right now, Nemesis kind of staving off, maybe forcing away those ultimates just in the nick of time every single time Aramori or Kurova were to go down.
Yeah, that's where you may see something a little more unique, like a Hulk. You know, you may want to run Hulk Namor, try to do something to shut things down a little bit, or the, you know, if you're FlyQuest, the Penny with the lockdown there, and just try to hope that your strat line can sit on those webs. Amazing, 21-2 with 11 finals. Nectar with 8 already, so looking really aggressive and strong. As you can look across the entire board, the stats looking pretty even. Goes to show you that this team is playing together. Nectar getting shut down more with 6 eliminations, but still Mello trying to do everything they can right now. 7 final hits now on Strange, as we see a new retake here from Nemesis. Portal play off the rip.
Portal play off the rip, also making sure to float just in case any shenanigans happens, but they're going to portal all the way into the backside, give themselves some space towards this health pack. And I think, oh no, is it too high? For some people, no, they can jump up, barely.
That was
stuffy legs on the thing.
That would have been a little bit scary, but a good play there, as they're going to own and completely flip the side, giving them height advantage. This does help shut down dive a little bit, as the people that were setting up are no longer going to be able to and are forced to retake, but the setup is there. As you see Panther and Cap on the left side, the team's not aware of it yet, and here comes Cap from Crimzo trying to reflect the thing. Going to own this zone. This is my backline, and I will protect. Amadian with the spin, ton of damage on a Panther. Panther going inside that bubble. Excuse me, Cap. Well done on the patience. Just reset together. Don't commit too much and be ready to go back on the backline again, forcing them off that height.
Here's Mello now coming through in the dive, and they're able to take down backline yet again. Nectar's going to fall too, so Nemesis really doing a job at living and just kind of coming back into these fights, forcing off the flank. They're doing their due diligence. This is what we didn't see in the Ego game earlier, right? Team Nemesis kind of forcing out Rymazing, making sure that his cooldowns are used out of the fight, and during that time, during the downtime of Rymazing's abilities, when the cooldowns are up, that's when they're taking full advantage, running towards Kurova, running towards Aramori. And right now, I think Nemesis are playing perfectly. This is what we would have wanted to see out of Ego death earlier on versus FlyQuest. Good teams play like this, and Nemesis are that team that can kind of take control of flank angles that Sentinel set up.
And one of the genius aspects of that play is putting them in a tight corridor like that may seem scary against something like Panther, but it allows your Yancey Street charge as the thing to get a ton of value. That zone of shutdown, limiting dashes from Panther and Cap jump is insanely valuable, especially when it covers the entirety of a hallway. Good throw here. Tries to get value, but no luck. Amadian going to continue with the legend. Returned right back here by Nemesis as Amadian finds Crimzo. Not able to land the Meteor M, the meatball, if you will, but still going to be be a battle on point as Panther alive and well, holding on in the neutral. Now we're going to see a ton of ults get popped. Korova out with the dance floor. Nectar holding on here, ready to use that dance of the butterfly. We have Mello right back. Similar story with the strat line and a ult here from Psylocke out from Mello. And there is the Ricky ultimate to keep the team in the back safe, as Amazing and Nectar both have ults here for Sentinels, though, and nothing to counter it.
I mean, they're constantly on the back foot. Nectar finally able to find Dinks, but this back line, they're able to stay alive. Ricky pushes away Nectar, lives for a little bit long enough for his team to show up and take down Nectar. So right now, great job from them. Both try to just remove, but this cart is still pushing. And Nemesis, almost towards the end of the phase. Right now, they're playing the objective super well. And also, oh no, that stagger pick onto Amazing is brutal.
Yeah, Nemesis really showing up right now. 3 minutes 30 on. A similar position, I think slightly ahead of Sentinels at this point with the time in terms of the location of the point. Sentinels are going to have to find their footing here. They do have ult advantage in this fight, so they should theoretically take this one, as we do see that cap ult immediately. Freedom charged up, allowing the team to have a ton of HP. If you look at the back line, trying to get a pick here. Scatter goes down, Crazy Man goes down as well. Down goes Dinks. Amazing with the two-piece. Crimzo looking for another, but the escape is there. Great play there. Still holding on to Aramori and Amazing.
Mello trying to find the trade, cannot, and finally Sentinels get a hold. I mean, they sort of almost, they got snowballed a little bit towards the very end, but they've stopped it for now. 3 minutes left on the clock. Nemesis. Scatter. Buddy, you good?
Sometimes you try to hit tab and then you hit Q. You know what I mean? Sometimes you try to look at the stats and you hit Q.
Yeah, scatter, a bit scatter brain there maybe. I don't know.
Team Scattered, I'll tell you that. And we are going to start off with our next fight as Scatter trying to get that all back quickly. Already 33%. Great shot. Samadian up with the Galactic Legend directly onto the strat line. Great bubble there. Talked about a 55 HP per second. Psylocke gonna pop that butterfly. Nectar still not able to get much. Just force out some stuff. Korova with the dance floor. Clobbering timeout as well. Back and forth. We see Q's pop. There is the value as Amadian finds Techie. And that is a nice pick. Dropping a Vanguard this early. You're just gonna buy them space until Aramori pops out that ult. Dink's gonna take out Korova though. Aramori's ult is gonna be everything they've got to stay onto the point. Hopefully she turned around and drove that towards points of the team. Can hold on. Crimzo gonna turn around on Amadian. Great pick there to even the odds a little bit, as Sentinels need to find some more value here, or Nemesis can roll with a numbers advantage.
Mello trying to take down Crimzo as well, and I've been so impressed with this guy's improvement throughout the game. Crimzo barely hiding behind the box now, trying to take away Amazing was on the flank. I mean, he's playing pure anti-flank, chases down Amazing, cooldowns out.
Nothing more brutal than seeing a cap at negative HP and still escaping full HP on the return. And here we go with the dunk. Not able to get anything with that meteor. Mello onto Amazing. Another pick early. Again, Sentinels looking really good in these fights. And there is a ton, excuse me, Nemesis popping off. That's a 4-piece. Make that 5 as they are rolling together. Well done, Nemesis. As like I said, excuse me, Mello off the pick there immediately for Nemesis, gave them enough space. They followed up with a 4-piece after that. Nemesis is finding their footing with 2 minutes 25, roughly the exact same time that Sentinels had pushing into the third point.
Yeah, maybe this is Nemesis not looking too good on Hell's Heaven and now coming over to Symbiotic Surface. They did very well versus Stratex on this map as well, just not maybe too strong of a domination team, but once they get to these sort of payload maps, they do very well. And right now, Kraz over to the Hulk as well to this third phase instead of the Thing, and right, oh jeez, Nectar gets picked off again. Sentinels, it feels like they're always on the back foot right now.
Yeah, and Nemesis is finding their footing. We talk about them, you know, maybe not feeling as confident on map 1, but things are looking up for them, right? Amazing now making the switch to Iron Man to try to find some picks onto the Cloak and Dagger during ult. Unfortunately, did not work out for him there. Mello with a good dash and escape. Meteor M up, not able to find much. Very weak, but does not get the pick. Mello once again resetting, very low, good dash out. Ooh, Psych, I lied. Aramori with an off angle to find and clean up Mello there. Well done. As now we see, oh my goodness, Amadian with 2. Make that soon to be 3 as they are walking now as a unit. The off angle touch from the dive, try to commit again, but Amadian says no to Crimzo. Will they get the final pick? Yes, they do, and they are gonna shove this thing very close to the final point.
And the switch to the third phase, the Punisher and the Hulk to deal with Amazing on this Iron Man is huge. Armory's over to the Jeff as well last second to maybe try to just like get some extra healing towards the objective. Crimzo also with the Freedom Charge ready to go, but Amadian sitting with the shotgun toward this objective.
I think AMER was thinking about it. Maybe they were considering the storm. I got to check on the bans again, but no, did go back again. Oh yeah, out of Jeffrey, out of spawn. Good call. Amazing with a nice pick there on a Craze, and now the odds are turning back in their favor. 42 seconds. They're gonna have one more major touch at this as a unit. They're gonna have to reset. You do not want to get picked now. You want to come in hot with a potential portal play if they decide to do it. Doesn't look like they're doing it just yet. It's just going to be a natural touch here, and then if anyone goes down, the comm is to make that switch and teleport in.
I mean, Sentinels to secure themselves into that grand finals of their group. They're going to have that maximum pulse. Scatter's going to have Meteor M to go to counter it. We'll see if he holds on to that ultimate ready to go for this. Melio, meanwhile, Armello drops in early with the Dance of the Butterflies.
Yeah, and that's going to force out some stuff. No, Amazing goes down, and that is a giant pick, as we will not have that pulse ready to counter. Danks is going to ult in, feeling more safe, knowing that Amazing is down. Now that we're in OT, the spawn timers, an additional little bit of time here. The dunk goes out for Meteor M. Techie, not able to find anything there. Korova is done. Armori back now, using that ultimate Nectar as well. Amadian trying to get a pick, but Amadian goes down. Amazing gets two, playing a ground Iron Man, and still able to get it done as Nectar takes out Ricky, and Sentinels are holding firm. Amazing with another ult, and that is going to clean them up, and Sentinels are going to win against Nemesis and push themselves in to the grand finals.
What a series. I hope we get to see it again. I mean, Sentinels pushed to the brink of elimination in this round, at least to get to make sure they don't get that #1 seed, or at least send them down to the loser brackets. Regardless, I mean, beautiful gameplay from Sentinels towards the very end, and at a Nemesis, right? I think both these teams played very high-level Marvel rivals, and that's what we talk about. That's what we want to see, right? As we get to the latter half of this tournament, that's when we start to see the top teams play each other and see really high-level thinking. You know, map number 1, I feel like it was hard. I feel like they did get a little bit of comp gap. This one didn't feel like much. I mean, it didn't feel like that. I think Melio played really well. So did Amadian. This entire roster played well. I think it was a hard-fought match for Nemesis, and they really were so close to winning it. I mean, they had so much time in the bank, but so did Sentinels on their attack. That just goes to show how hard it is to capture out Clintar, as Sentinels stopped Nemesis last second. Definitely hope we get to see this matchup again, Shib, because it was a great one.
Yeah, and we talked about prior the talk about a Strat 2 and a Strat 1 in comms, and I think that Luna nowadays is taking more of a Strat 2 role. As you can see, 13-5 on the damage charts for Korova. Strictly just raw damage out there for Luna Snow, who has 20 elims there, just popping off 2 finals, but 13k damage alongside 57k healing for Korova is absolutely obscene. Needs to get some attention. So well done there. Most healing by over 12k damage. So yeah, just a beautiful work there for Sentinels playing together as a team. You talk about it, everyone's stat lines looking pretty similar across the board. Sentinels once again showcasing why they should be considered a top seed and pushing through on Clintar, a thing that we haven't seen too frequently. So very well done again by Sentinels.
Yeah, I mean, it was a back and forth matchup. Ryan switched to Iron Man towards the end on third phase. Definitely more of a comfort pick for him. I think Flyers in general are really strong. Storm and Iron Man, I think people talk about, you know, who is the next up Flyer outside of the Human Torch right now. I think Human Torch right now is probably the #1. I mean, some people could say Storm. Storm has had their moments as well, but right now, I mean, you don't really know exactly what to switch. We haven't seen too much top tier, I think, Iron Man gameplay as well. It's been tough for Iron Mans in general, but maybe this variance of Iron Man against the Hulk, against this Psylocke, I think a lot of these changes kind of enabled them, especially since Black Panther on third phase is a bit rough. But here is your MVP. It's Korova from the series. He played pretty damn good.
Yeah, we talked about the raw damage. Korova, absolutely great positioning, great ultimates, a ton of damage out there to help things like that dive by Panther, clean up some of those KOs and just find value with a single dash. So amazing, great play there. I love to see that as well. Panther to Iron Man, definitely more obscure picks. Definitely something you might see in ladder, but maybe not as much in tournament.
Yeah, maybe not as much in tournament so far. I think we'll see moving forward. I think Sentinel's definitely favoring that. I think they showed a little bit of their cards, at least on third point on Clintar, and you know, for Nemesis, I think that's something, you know, you don't feel too bad about that matchup. I think Sentinels was a good team. I think you can maybe look at slight changes. Like I said, I've been really impressed with Mello. I think that this whole team as well, Nemesis, they're a very talented roster, and I think their macro is pretty good. I feel like Mello's improvement is definitely understated. I think he's gone from like magic one trick to just this. I mean, he has so many heroes in his hero pool. He's pulled up the Psylocke, he's pulled up the Human Torch. I think he plays so many heroes for this Nemesis roster, and I think even though they lost 2-0, that he's definitely improved to me as well on the Wolverine. So we'll have to see more of this Nemesis squad in the loser bracket. We'll see what they could do, see if they could secure that second or first seed if they give themselves that run back into the grand finals. But for Sentinels, what a 2-0 win for them, and a team as well that definitely needed something like this to prove they're still a force and still a top tier team.
Yeah, and 70K on the line, moving this deep into the tournament for that first place prize is going to add some pressure. I do agree. Mello, most damage in the entirety of the game, 29K damage, 13 finals, looking really good. Amadian up there with 13 as well. Oh, excuse me, Amadian at 32. So very strong by both of them, looking really clean, but just could not clutch it up at the end there, as Sentinels do a great job in those big team fights, always staying calm and finding value with each ult. A lot of strategists negating big ultimates. We saw Amazing trying to make some plays there with Iron Man. We saw a ton of picks with like ground Iron Man, because that's what you got to do when you have the cloak ult out. You got to play on the ground, makes you virtually immune, and you can just deal a ton of raw damage.
Yeah, I think that goes to show. I think that series as well kind of proved, because they played Cloak and Luna, right? And then on the other side, did they play Invisible Woman alongside it? I don't remember, but regardless, no, they played for Cloak and Luna for both teams.
Yeah, I think Invis came out for Ricky towards the end too for Nemesis as well. So it was Cloak and Invis towards the end, but I believe that was the case. But really, yeah, I liked. We saw those boundaries get a ton of value as well. 32K, a ton of damage, you know, out on both sides for the strategists. The strategists are really good damaging.
Well, what do we rank these heroes? Because right now, I think strategist wise, it does feel like Cloak and Dagger, Luna, and Loki are kind of in their own tier, and then Invisible Woman sort of like bouncing around, right, between the top tiers. Maybe still is one of those top tier heroes. I mean, compared to like running like a only Mantis or Jeff duo, strategist duo.
Yeah, it's difficult because at this level of play, they're finding value that you may not see in ladders. So we're going to get a lot of these questions answered here right now as we start talking to Nectar, who is one of the newer additions to this squad in terms of being on the playing field and is just an absolute force out there. How you doing, Nectar?
Hey, what's up? Good, how are you?
I'm good, man. Hey, I just got to ask you quickly, you guys are really seeming to enjoy that committed dive comp. You are going in heavy with the Psylocke and Crimzo with the cap. Is that something you guys recently added to your belt?
Well, I think I've, through like the life cycle of this game, I've been pretty committed to playing Psylocke most of the time, and I feel like Crimzo really understands my playstyle, and you know, we play off each other pretty well. And there's like, I feel like since like the first day I played with Crimzo on like any dive character on Psylocke, I felt like there was sort of a lot of synergy with each other, you know, on these dives.
Yeah, it's awesome, man.
Yeah, a lot of natural synergy between you two, and you know, for Sentinels, for your roster as well moving forward. I think that, you know, we would not be surprised to see you guys sort of make these dives. And I think that the great part of that series between you guys and Nemesis is there was that sort of variance towards third point on Clintar. Can you sort of discuss that? Like, why switch to the Iron Man? You know, why switch up some things last second against Team Nemesis when, you know, Black Panther was seemingly doing pretty well on the attack, and then also, you know, early on in the match?
Well, I think that map we just made the adjustment where, you know, the thing made it kind of hard for our dives to have the immediate value on the hits. And then the Iron Man kind of let us to play pretty easily in the front to back comp and get more value out of each of our picks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in that first domination, you were 30-2, if I remember correctly, something like 14 finals, obviously just dominating as Psylocke. I've got to ask the question in terms of banning strategy. With you guys committing to this dive and being more aggressive, are there any heroes you want to ensure are always gone? Something like Loki?
Yeah, I feel like Loki makes it really hard, especially with the clones and the rejuvenation domain. That makes it pretty hard for Psylocke and divers like that to find early value in the fight. But when he's out, it requires a lot more response, you know, when you're going in on these fast engages.
Makes Vanguards turn around too much, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and on that, I mean, like, Nectar, what do you do on like Psylocke if you are being looked at a lot? Like, do you change your play style a little bit, or what's up?
Yeah, I think that's the best part of Psylocke, especially because her passive makes her a lot more versatile than other divers like Black Panther. Like, as you saw when they swapped to the thing, he's kind of forced to have a more laid back role and wait for more opportunities to come into his hands. But Psylocke, you'd be a lot more proactive and make your own opportunities.
And do you think this is sort of the way moving forward with this patch? You know, I think a lot of people were running Storm, Punisher previously, but, you know, maybe moving forward, are we going to see a little bit more dive regardless of bans and protects, or do you think things are still up in the air, maybe with the triple res compositions and stuff, and like Mantis maybe?
I think this patch allows for a lot more creative freedom, especially since the bans aren't universal for both teams. Like, teams can play into their best playstyle, you know, what's best for them, rather opposed to, you know, what can, like, as opposed to last patch, you know, when the bans were universal, like certain teams have to ban Torch versus certain teams, but it was a lot more gateways for us to, you know, maybe catch some people on surprise.
Awesome, man. Clearly, you know, appreciate your insight. Obviously a very intelligent player. Any major thing you want to say for the final thing? Any shout out, anyone you want to thank before we say goodbye to you?
Yeah. I want to thank my team, you know, for taking a chance, because I was kind of a unknown player before, and thanks to my girlfriend and my family.
Awesome, man. Humble. Love it.
Thank you.
Really well done out there, buddy.
Oh, and shout out Month from Envy.
Shout out Mont.
Yeah.
Love it.
All right, thank you. Great talking to you guys.
Appreciate you, man. Yeah. See you in the ranked lobbies, of course, top of the ladder.
See you soon.
So, appreciate it, Nectar, coming on in. Shib, man, what a series from Sentinels. Good to talk to Nectar, too. Good to see you, Nectar, as he